Hey guys, welcome back. Now, with the long-awaited Bitcoin halving now upon us, everybody wants to know the same question: what happens now? Recently, we've had some big moves to the upside and the down, with many altcoins getting hit pretty hard. So what can investors expect as we go through the halving? Now, there are many people saying that because of this major supply shock, it's going to send prices skyrocketing. However, is this actually true? Well, one simple thing that we can do is take a look at the previous halvings, of which there has been 3, and see what exactly happened. The first halving was in 2012, then one in 2016, and the last one 2020, so every 4 years. And the question is, what exactly happened to the price leading up to the halving, at the halving itself, and then the days and weeks after the halving? And that is what this video is all about. Okay, so first up, let's take a look at these 3 halvings and see what insights they can give. So firstly, we're going to take a snapshot overview of the 3 halvings, and then we'll dig in a little bit closer to see exactly what happened around this time. So this is a great big picture overview, and you can see the 3 ones that have gone. So Bitcoin was launched here, and this led to the first halving going through the middle here. This being the first big super run, orange being the second one, green being the third, and we're now just about to do the 4th, with it being red. So we had the blue halving in 2012, we had the yellow one in 2016, then the green one in 2020. So as you can see, it's every 4 years. Now it's a bit hard to see with everything there, so let's just dig in and look at each one. So this one being the first, and the first thing that jumps out to me is just how strong prices have been over the past 6 months. And in fact, we've rocketed above, and we are ahead of the first cycle. And if we are going to get diminishing returns, then we really shouldn't have been this high. So the ETFs that were launched obviously have brought forward quite a lot of demand. So even though we've had this recent drop, the true perspective is that it's still very strong. When it comes to cycle 2, now this is the one which is most similar to what's been going on right now. As you can see, eerily similar. This looks like 2 perfect parallel lines. A massive run up with some corrections on the way, and pretty much the exact same run. Then it goes into some sideways consolidation, and again some sideways consolidation. So it's actually this one that is the most similar, and we'll dig into this one in just a minute. And then we had the one most recent in 2020. Now, unfortunately, with only 3 data points, and this one, we also had the big COVID flush, which kind of messes up this data as well. So just bear in mind, this is not a lot of data points that we're going to be looking at, so we're just going to try and grab what we can. But comparing to the last cycle gone, again, you can instantly see just how strong prices have been. And I think in this recent crash, people have completely forgotten about the insane run that had just happened before it. And people just zoom in to just what's happened, and they think it's all over. So this really puts things into perspective. Even after this crash, where we're sitting around 60k, it's still very, very strong. So let's now dig in and take a closer look to what happened at the actual halvings. So here we are with the price action of today. So this is what's going on right now. So as a good comparison, let's just compare what we can see. So as of right now, we had this big run up a couple of months before. It got to its high point, which it couldn't hold, and there's been this trading range. So lots of sideways consolidation, roughly bouncing between 60 and 70. And as at the time of this recording, the halving is set for tomorrow. So this is our comparison. So So jumping back, and we're jumping back to November 28th, 2012. So this is going back a long time. And what does this halving show us? Well, firstly, there was a big run up before the halving, and this move going a nice run of 176%. So the further we go back, the more volatile the price. So you think the runs today of 60% are good? Well, the runs were a lot bigger, and so were the drops. So a nice run of 176%, and then correction in a matter of days going down 57%. So this was the crazy volatility around at this time. Now, for me, although we only have 3 data points, I also discontinued this data point. I actually don't think we can use this data, and it's just because at this time there was such a tiny amount of people investing in Bitcoin. It was just the early innovators, and if you check out, the price at around the halving was $12. This was when Bitcoin was $12. So for me, even if you're going to blend the 3 halvings, this data is just going to mess things up. And you can see the crazy run that happened afterwards. So from the halving, and it's about a 5-month period, it went up 2,300%. So a crazy move. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this first halving, as personally, I don't think this data is actually useful for the reasons mentioned. So jumping to the second halving, and for me, this one is actually quite useful because it's eerily similar to what's happening right now. If you remember, this is current price action where we had this big run up and we're now in a sideways channel. Well, looking at 2016, this is very similar. A big run up, it couldn't hold the high, and then it kind of went into this sideways consolidation of around about here. So broke, couldn't hold it, and it's been going up and down in this sideways consolidation. So very similar to what's going on. So this is a useful data point. Now this run, let's just take a look. This was a nice run of 80%. And so at the actual time of the halving, again, lots of volatility. On the day of the halving, there was a drop. And here's one of the things to note. There wasn't just a crazy explosion in price. What happened is more sideways consolidation. And this went on for about 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, what happened? There was a final flush out. And this time dropping about 30%. So 2 weeks sideways consolidation followed by a 30% final flush out. And this then marked the bottom for the next run. From there, we got higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and off it went to the races. This time, a nice run following the halving of 144%, but that was not all. After a big correction, it went on to do another big run, this time from bottom to top, 190%. But this was not done. It was just a major correction into another crazy run. This time, all the way to 500%. However, this was just a correction. It went on to do another major run, this time giving people almost 1,000%. However, that was just a correction, and on it went to the final top, and this time giving people around about 4,000%. So an insane rally did follow, but let's just remember, going back in at the time of the halving, 2 weeks sideways consolidation and then a big flush out. we have the last halving that happened in 2020. And as mentioned, unfortunately, leading up to it, we did have this crazy COVID crash, which saw a Bitcoin flush out of around 63%. So this kind of does skew and mess up this data. So I think probably the best thing we can do is just a bit of speculation, and we'll just cut out the COVID crash and recovery. So what do we see? Well, again, we've got quite a lot of sideways consolidation in a channel. So we don't know what would have happened just before the halving. We have this booms and flush outs, up and down, sideways consolidation. So this seems to be a recurring pattern as well. This time, a few days before the halving, there was a nice little flush out, marking about 20%. So 20% flush out going into the halving. So certainly a sell the news event. And then this time, was there a big explosion in price that people are calling for because of a supply shock? Nope. This time it went on to do sideways consolidation for about 2 long months. So this would have really tested people's patience. And in fact, it slowly was fading down, setting lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. So for people who are following this every single day, 2 long months. But interestingly, it was the flush out on the day of the halving that actually marked the bottom. And then it went on to do its next big crazy run. And this is the crazy run that everyone is waiting for. But this time we did get diminishing returns from bottom to top. This was a rally of about 700%. But a key takeaway from this one is that at the time of the halving, it's very volatile, a big flush out of 20%, sideways consolidation, fading down for about 2 months. With the long-awaited Bitcoin halving now upon us, everybody wants to know the question, what happens next? Of the 3 halvings gone, I personally don't put a lot of weight on the first, as it was just a small group of early adopters and the price was only $10. Now, the second in 2016 was the most similar to what's going on right now. A big run-up leading up to it, lots of sideways consolidation. This went on to 2 weeks afterwards before there was a final flush out, marking the bottom before a 4,000% rally. And then the third, again, lots of sideways consolidation. However, this time 2 long months of it fading down before finding its bottom, going on then to do a 700% rally. And so, what can we say? Well, volatility around the halving was very common. Sideways consolidation in a channel was very common. Then at the halving, there was never an explosive move to the upside. It was either 2 weeks to 2 months of a fade down to a big flush out. And so, one of the big takeaways for me is that the actual halving has never been an explosive move to the upside. This has always come later. However, it wouldn't surprise me, with this being crypto, that this time something completely different happens. So there you are, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Now, you tell me, what insights did this bring you? Let me know below. However, just remember to get rid of 100% of the comment spam and trading bots that plague YouTube comments. We are trying out the new SuperThanks Commenting system. So to get your question or comment read and replied to, or just to say thanks, then use SuperThanks below. And for now, just to say, if you did enjoy anything in the video, then drop a like, and a big thank you to everyone who does, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.